The quiet morning at Sandringham Estate did not begin like any ordinary day. At exactly 10:15 a.m., the gates opened, but what entered was not the usual royal convoy that people often expect to see. There were no flags waving, no official escort vehicles, and no sign of ceremony. Instead, a plain black Jaguar with civilian number plates drove in quietly, almost as if it was trying not to draw attention. From that car stepped a sharply dressed legal professional, a senior partner from a respected firm. In his hand was a thick file marked with a code that immediately suggested something serious and official. Within minutes of his arrival, something unexpected happened. A formal legal seal was placed on the doors of the north wing of the estate, effectively locking it. At that exact moment, Queen Camilla, who had been planning a peaceful summer stay in that very section of the estate, found herself completely shut out. This was not a minor inconvenience or a simple scheduling issue. It was a legal action that carried weight and authority. What made the situation even more shocking was that this move was not directly ordered by King Charles III, nor was it enforced by palace staff. Instead, the action was taken under the authority of a sister, Princess Anne. The suddenness of the event, combined with the lack of warning, created an atmosphere of confusion and tension inside the estate. Staff members were left scrambling to understand what had just happened, while questions quickly began to spread. Why would such a dramatic step be taken? And why now? As the story unfolded, it became clear that this was not just about a guest wing or a temporary stay. It was the beginning of something much deeper, a situation that touched on power, family loyalty, and long-standing tensions within the royal household. To fully understand what led to this surprising moment, it is important to look back a few days before the legal seal was placed. About 6 days earlier, a quiet but intense meeting took place at Highgrove House, one of the most private residences associated with the royal family. Inside a small room designed for personal discussions, Princess Anne and Queen Camilla came face to face. This was not a casual meeting, and those nearby could sense that something serious was being discussed. According to accounts from individuals close to the situation, the atmosphere was tense from the very beginning. Voices were controlled but firm, and every word carried weight. The main topic of discussion was Prince Andrew, whose recent troubles had placed him in a difficult and vulnerable position. He had reportedly withdrawn from his usual residence and was staying at Sandringham, away from public view. For Princess Anne, this situation was deeply personal. She had watched her brother face public scrutiny, legal challenges, and growing isolation. At the same time, she saw the royal institution slowly distancing itself from him. During the meeting, she made her concerns clear. She believed that family loyalty should come first, especially in times of hardship. On the other hand, Queen Camilla reportedly responded by pointing to tradition, rank, and the established structure within the monarchy. The exchange highlighted a clear difference in perspective. One side focused on loyalty and emotional support, while the other emphasized order and hierarchy. This clash of views set the stage for what would happen next, as the disagreement did not end in that room. Instead, it marked the beginning of a chain of events that would soon escalate into a public and legal matter. Following that tense meeting, events began to move quickly behind the scenes. While the public remained unaware, Princess and her legal advisors started preparing a strategy that would soon have major consequences. This was not a decision made in haste. Instead, it involved careful planning, detailed research, and a clear understanding of property law. The team worked with precision, reviewing decades of records related to the use of the North Wing at Sandringham Estate. Over many years, this part of the estate had been used frequently by Princess Anne and her household. These visits were documented, creating a strong history of consistent use. By gathering this information, her legal team was able to build a case based on what is known as customary occupancy rights. In simple terms, this means that if someone has used a property regularly over a long period, they may have a legal claim to continue using it. This approach allowed them to act without needing immediate approval from other members of the royal household. The strategy was designed to be both effective and difficult to challenge quickly. It was not about creating conflict for the sake of it. Instead, it was about establishing control over a space that had long been associated with her side of the family. As the preparations continued, the situation remained hidden from public view. However, inside the palace, a sense of anticipation began to grow. Those involved knew that once the plan was put into action, it would have immediate and visible effects. The stage was being set for a moment that would bring private tensions into the open in a very clear and undeniable way. When the legal filing was finally submitted, its impact was immediate. The documents triggered a specific legal provision that allowed the North Wing to be placed under restricted access. This meant that no one could enter or use that part of the estate without proper authorization. For the estate staff, the situation changed within hours. Instructions were issued to hand over master keys, and access points were secured. The response was quick and organized, showing that the legal authority behind the move was being taken seriously. For Queen Camilla, the consequences were significant. Her plans for a long summer stay were suddenly put on hold, with no clear timeline for resolution. A cooling-off period was introduced, lasting 21 days, during which no changes could be made. This period was meant to allow time for discussions and possible agreements, but it also served as a firm barrier. The message was clear: the situation could not be ignored or easily reversed. Within the royal household, reactions were mixed. Some saw the move as a bold and necessary step, while others viewed it as an escalation that could lead to further division. The balance between personal relationships and institutional rules became more difficult to maintain. As news of the situation began to spread, questions continued to grow. Was this purely a legal matter, or was it a reflection of deeper issues within the family? The answer, it seemed, was not simple. The legal action was just one part of a larger story, one that involved history, loyalty, and the challenges of maintaining unity in a very public and closely watched institution. At the center of this unfolding situation lies a deeper question about power and control within the royal family. The monarchy is often seen as a symbol of stability and tradition, but behind the scenes, it is also a complex system of relationships and responsibilities. In this case, the actions taken by Princess and highlight how individuals within that system can use legal and historical tools to assert their position. Her decision was not just about a building or a temporary stay. It was a statement about priorities, values, and the importance of family support. For her, the situation involving Prince Andrew was a key factor. She believed that his need for privacy and stability should be respected, especially during a difficult time. On the other hand, Queen Camilla represented a different approach, one that focused on maintaining order and following established practices. This difference in perspective reflects a broader challenge within the monarchy: how to balance tradition with personal loyalty. As the situation continues to develop, it serves as a reminder that even institutions with long histories are not free from internal conflicts. The decisions made by individuals can have far-reaching effects, influencing not only their own lives but also the public image of the monarchy. In this case, what started as a private disagreement has become a topic of wider interest, drawing attention to the human side of a system that is often seen as distant and formal. Another important aspect of this story is the role of secrecy and information. References to historical documents and private correspondence have added an extra layer of intrigue to the situation. These materials, believed to be connected to Queen Elizabeth II, are said to be stored in a secure location within the estate. While the exact details remain unclear, their existence has raised questions about what they might contain and why they are considered important. In situations like this, information can be a powerful tool. It can influence decisions, shape narratives, and even change the course of events. For those involved, controlling access to such information may be just as important as controlling physical space. This adds another dimension to the legal actions taken at Sandringham Estate. It is not only about who can stay where, but also about who has access to certain parts of history. As the story continues to unfold, the presence of these hidden elements keeps interest high. People are naturally curious about what lies behind closed doors, especially when it involves well-known figures and long-standing traditions. The combination of legal strategy, personal conflict, and possible secrets creates a narrative that is both complex and compelling. It shows that even in a world defined by protocol and formality, there are still mysteries that capture the imagination. In the end, This situation is still developing, and its outcome remains uncertain. What is clear, however, is that it has revealed tensions that were previously hidden from public view. The actions taken by Princess and have sparked conversations about authority, loyalty, and the role of tradition in modern times. For King Charles III, the situation presents a delicate challenge. As the head of the monarchy, he must find a way to manage these internal conflicts while maintaining a sense of unity and stability. At the same time, the public continues to watch closely, interested in every new development. Stories like this remind us that behind the formal appearances and official duties, there are real people dealing with complex emotions and difficult decisions. The events at Sandringham Estate are not just about legal documents or property rights. They are about relationships, history, and the ongoing effort to balance personal needs with public responsibilities. As more information becomes available, the story may take new turns, but its core themes will likely remain the same. It is a story of power, family, and the challenges of navigating both in a world where every action is closely observed. As the situation continued to unfold behind the gates of Sandringham Estate, attention began to shift toward the internal reaction of the royal household staff, who were among the first to feel the direct impact of the sudden legal move. These individuals, many of whom had served the family for decades, were used to maintaining discretion and calm even during difficult moments. However, this situation was different. The speed and seriousness of the legal seal created confusion and concern. Staff members who were responsible for managing access to the North Wing suddenly found themselves following new instructions that came not from the usual palace channels, but from legal representatives. Keys were collected, schedules were cancelled, and carefully planned arrangements were put on hold without warning. For many, this was not just a professional challenge, but also an emotional one. They had witnessed the gradual buildup of tension over the past weeks, and now they were seeing its consequences play out in real time. Some staff members reportedly felt caught in the middle, unsure of how to respond to questions from different sides of the household. On one hand, there was the authority of Princess and her legal team, whose instructions were clear and firm. On the other hand, there were expectations from the office of Queen Camilla, which had been preparing for the upcoming stay. This placed staff in a difficult position, as they were expected to remain neutral while also carrying out orders that had immediate and visible effects. The atmosphere within the estate became noticeably tense, with quiet conversations and careful movements replacing the usual routine. Every action seemed to carry extra weight, as if even the smallest detail could have larger consequences. In situations like this, the role of staff often goes unnoticed by the public, but it is essential to the functioning of the royal household. Their ability to adapt and maintain order during moments of uncertainty helps prevent situations from escalating further. At the same time, their experiences offer a unique perspective on the human side of these events. They see not only the official decisions but also the personal reactions that follow. As the days passed, the initial shock began to settle, but the sense of uncertainty remained. No one knew how long the restrictions would last or what the final outcome would be. What was clear, however, was that the events at Sandringham had created a ripple effect that extended far beyond the North Wing, influencing the daily lives of everyone connected to the estate. Beyond the immediate impact on staff and daily operations, the situation also began to draw attention from observers outside the royal household, including historians, legal experts, and members of the public who follow royal affairs closely. For many of these observers, the actions taken by Princess Anne were not only surprising but also deeply interesting from a legal and historical point of view. The use of customary occupancy rights, especially in a setting as well known as Sandringham Estate, raised questions about how traditional laws continue to shape modern decisions. Some experts pointed out that such legal provisions are rarely used in high-profile situations, which made this case particularly unusual. Others noted that the move demonstrated a strong understanding of the legal framework surrounding hereditary properties. By acting within these rules, Princess Anne was able to achieve a significant result without immediately entering into a public legal battle. This approach allowed the matter to remain, at least for the time being, within the private sphere of the family. However, it also increased public curiosity. people began to ask whether this situation might set a precedent for future disputes involving royal properties. Could similar actions be taken again, or was this a unique case shaped by very specific circumstances? At the same time, discussions about the broader meaning of the event began to emerge. Some saw it as a sign that the monarchy was evolving, with individuals taking a more active role in shaping outcomes. Others viewed it as a reflection of underlying tensions that had been building for years. The involvement of King Charles III also became a topic of interest, as people wondered how he would respond to a situation that involved both his sister and his wife. While there was no immediate public statement, the expectation was that some form of resolution would eventually be needed. In the meantime, the story continued to develop, with each new detail adding to a growing sense of anticipation. For those watching from the outside, it was a rare glimpse into the inner workings of an institution that is usually defined by its privacy and control. The combination of legal complexity, personal relationships, and historical context made the situation both fascinating and difficult to fully understand. As the 21-day cooling-off period moved forward, attention turned toward what might happen next and how the situation could be resolved. This period was designed to create space for discussion and reflection, but it also served as a reminder that time was limited. Decisions would need to be made, and those decisions could have lasting effects. For Queen Camilla, the delay meant reconsidering plans and possibly adjusting expectations. What had been intended as a period of rest and privacy was now uncertain, with no guarantee that access to the North Wing would be restored. For Princess Anne, the focus was likely on maintaining the position she had established while remaining open to potential solutions. The challenge for both sides was to find a way forward that addressed their concerns without causing further division. In situations like this, communication becomes especially important. Private discussions, careful negotiation, and a willingness to compromise can all play a role in reaching an agreement. At the same time, the presence of legal boundaries means that any solution must also respect the framework that has been put in place. The role of King Charles III is expected to be crucial in this process. As the head of the family and the monarchy, he is in a position to guide discussions and help bring about a resolution. However, this is not an easy task. Balancing the perspectives of different family members while maintaining stability requires both patience and careful judgment. As the days pass, the outcome remains uncertain, but the importance of the situation is clear. It is not only about access to a particular part of Sandringham Estate, but also about how the royal family handles internal disagreements in a way that reflects its values and responsibilities. The decisions made during this period will likely influence not only the immediate situation but also future interactions within the household. For those watching from the outside, the hope is that a resolution can be reached that respects both tradition and the needs of the individuals involved. Until then,